When LT joined the Giants in 1981, everyone in the NFL was certain the prize rookie would step right into the lineup. Everyone, except his head coach.
I remember talking to Ray Perkins, and Ray was very conscious of the pecking order. He had been in the league, and when do you move the veteran out and you put the rookie in? And we had a discussion about that, and I said, Ray, that will be the easiest decision that you have to make. And we had a linebacker playing right, who was a right linebacker, a fellow from Penn State, I remember. And the first day we lined up in practice, all of a sudden Lawrence was playing right linebacker. The coach didn't have to do anything. The player was smart enough to know. It was John Scorpan, who was a very bright, fine young man. And there was no way that he was going to play in that spot, and he knew it. And Lawrence lined up there from day number one. He had this great intensity and this great quickness, and when the coaches saw that, they began to realize we have to exploit the abilities of this player, and that's what he did. He could do things that other players couldn't do.
I played a different type of football game than I think that they were used to, that I brought something different to the table that maybe hadn't been seen in a while around here. But up until that point, a linebacker was just a linebacker. All he did was, he stopped the run, he went back and defended against the pass. The motor skills were just like anybody else. But as Bill Parcells watched me and evaluated me, he allowed me to do a lot of different things, allowed me to rush the passer, because most of the time I made so many mistakes in the pass defense. I was supposed to be dropping on this play, so I wouldn't drop or I'd rush, and that was my answer to everything. If you don't know what you're doing, just rush the quarterback. Hell, see what happens.
What happened was a pro football revolution. There had never been a defensive force quite like Lawrence Taylor, a man who could disdainfully crumple up an offensive game plan and send its beleaguered creators back to the drawing board.
He changed the way the game was played on offense. They had to do something different. He may have invented the one-back offense. Joe Gibbs started using the one-back offense to deal with Lawrence Taylor.
Taylor's impact on his own team was just as forceful. For nearly 2 decades, the Giants had struggled, posting only 2 winning seasons. It was no accident that the arrival of Lawrence Taylor coincided with New York's first playoff berth in 18 years.
In the early years, they had some great teams here, and I'd known that in the last few years, 10 or so, 10, 15, 20, how many years it was, that they hadn't won a lot of football games, hadn't been to the playoffs.
In the final game of the regular season, the Giants would finally reach the playoffs if they could beat the Dallas Cowboys.
You know, this is what you've been waiting for. This is what the whole town has waited for. And I was able to cause a fumble. And here's opportunity. I've caused something here. We've got the fumble. We get the ball in like chip shot range. And LT, you done it. You put the Giants into the playoffs. So I'm really, ecstatic about this. I'm thinking, well, wow, commercials, everything. And then Dinello, he misses a field goal.
Here comes the ball. Here's the kick by Dinello. No good. No good. Hit the upright.
And so, there goes your emotion again. You're down now at your lowest point. I cannot believe this. But my roommate back then, Byron Hunt, he was able to cause another turnover right afterwards and play an interception. And we went down and we scored. And it was the first time the Giants had been in the playoffs. And needless to say, this place went crazy.
Here comes the snap. Here's the boot. It looks good. It's good. The Giants win. The Giants win. The Giants win.
In 1981, Lawrence Taylor made the Giants a playoff contender. In 1986, he made them a Super Bowl champion. Despite the lingering fallout from off-field problems, Taylor enjoyed the greatest season of his career. He shattered the team sack record, earned All-Pro and Pro Bowl honors, and was a unanimous choice for league MVP, the first time a defender had won the award since 1971.
1986, I was coming off some adversity, so I had a lot to prove to my teammates, myself, fans, a lot of other things. A lot of people had my family, a lot to prove to a lot of different people. But I remember as I started to get my confidence back that I was still the same Lawrence Taylor. I still had what it took to play the game. I started to play better and better and better. Just like the team, we turned into a Super Bowl season, and I was able to turn my year into a MVP year. Just knowing, because anytime, any game can knock you out, any play can knock you out, and you got to be on your game the whole time, every play, 60 minutes, every game. That's what kept us going. And I think that's how I was able to win an MVP that year, or the accolades that year, because I was able to stay on my game, stay intense, because I had something to prove.
In 1986, MVP was spelled LT, and the Giants star continued to excel in the conference playoffs.
Montana inside the 10, throws wildly, intercepted. There goes Taylor down to the 20. 10, touchdown. LT, way to go.
The bitter booing of Giant seasons past was now replaced by a Meadowlands chant exalting New York's greatest football hero. After resounding playoff victories over the 49ers and Redskins, Lawrence Taylor and the Giants were Super Bowl bound at last. Lawrence Taylor's finest season ended with the New York Giants' greatest triumph.
Giants 39, the Broncos are 20. The Giants have accomplished something that many people thought they would never see. Best in the world, man, for 1 year.
The essence of Lawrence is really his honesty, his dead honesty. You ask him a question, you get an answer.
Nowhere to go. So,
in 1993, everyone has the same question.
I talked to Dan, and he's excited about the prospects of what can happen for this year coming up. I'm excited because he's excited, and if he's excited, I'm want to be a part of that. And so we talk over some certain things, and probably it looks like if my leg is NFL ready, I will be back with the Giants.
The leg, the injury. In 1992, Lawrence Taylor, for the first time, faced football mortality. He had known all about career-ending injuries. On a Monday night in 1985, it was his clean tackle that rendered such a fate to quarterback Joe Theismann. The fact that Taylor missed only one game in his first 10 seasons says more about his fortitude than just his plain good fortune.
I don't think there's ever been a player who's had any greater tolerance for pain than Lawrence Taylor. I mean, he just refuses to accept that he's hurt or that he won't get well quicker than anybody else.
The most unusual aspect of Lawrence Taylor's Ironman endurance is the fact that he's never been one to shy away from physical contact.
I remember that game was a Thanksgiving Day game, and I had a bad knee. Matter of fact, I didn't even start that game, and I was getting kind of teed off about that. I was just acting like a little kid over on the sideline, cussing and fussing and not having a good time whatsoever. And I said, well, if they tell me to go in, I'm not going in.
While LT sulked, the Lions strolled through the undermanned Giants defense. And the pain in Taylor's knee was quickly forgotten.
Well, the second quarter, you know, Bill looks over at me and says, listen, get ready to go in there. Boom, I'm out there.
In the blink of an eye, Taylor altered the tempo of the football game. Running lanes closed and blocking schemes crumbled as LT personally destroyed the once prosperous Lions attack. With the score tied and the Lions at the Giants' goal line, LT picked that moment to score the first points of his NFL career.
The pass, I saw it in my mind. I knew exactly what the play was before it even developed. And I said, if they throw this ball here, I'm going to go all the way.
They've got King on the left side as a running back. Sanderson looking in, zone for a pass. He's looking for King, intercepted. He's going to go down the right side. Lawrence down to the 20, 30, down to the 40. He might go all the way. He's going to go in.
And I remember when I got to about the 40-yard line, I said, what I want to do when I get in this end zone? I don't have anything. I don't know all the shuffles and the slam dunk across the backboard. So I'm saying what I'm going to do. So I decided to slide and tore all the skin off my leg. I tell you, big old strawberries. But that's one of my favorite plays of my career.
Taylor virtually duplicated these heroics 6 years later, when another national TV audience under a different dome witnessed a wounded LT in even more dire circumstances. Fallen quarterback Phil Simms was on the sidelines, with young Jeff Hostetler making his first NFL start, a debut that opened with a flourish.
Hostetler drops back, looks left. He's going left and going way deep, way down. He's got Baker the 40-yard line. Still in his feet to the 30. He'll score. What a pass by Hostetler, 85 yards to Baker.
The Giants would not score another touchdown for the rest of the night, so Lawrence Taylor took it upon himself to seize control of the game. All he did was make 10 tackles with 3 quarterback sacks and 2 forced fumbles, holding the Saints at bay until the Giants could find a way to win.
I remember in the game in New Orleans, I think it was 1988 season, and after that game, in a way, he was so great that night that that's one of the few games that I ever saw that I felt that a defensive player won the game. Lawrence Taylor that night won that game. Lawrence had a terrible shoulder injury. He just shouldn't have been playing, and he had to redo the harness between series. Every time he'd go to the sideline, they'd fix the shoulder on him.
His will made him ignore things like pain sometimes. People call it determination, whatever it is, he just had it, and he just would not give in. He was going to make it the way he wanted to make it.
Deep into the fourth quarter, Taylor and the defense stopped New Orleans one last time, giving kicker Paul McFadden the opportunity to complete the story with a happy ending.
This is the game. It's on the line right here. The 25-yard spot. Ball is up, and it's going to be good. Giants are on top.
Paul McFadden made the field goal, but Lawrence Taylor had won the game.
Well, I think it was his greatest moment ever. I mean, I know Coach Parcells, who doesn't give anybody a lot of credit, you know, too often. I remember after it was over, he was saying something about it, and he started calling him Superman after that. And he meant it. And I tell you, he was almost in tears when the game was over because he knew he'd just witnessed something that was beyond belief.
Two years later, the Giants journeyed to Candlestick Park for a late-season battle with the defending world champion 49ers. The long-awaited duel between a pair of once-beaten teams was a closely fought game that San Francisco ultimately won. The Niners, cocky and confident, began making their reservations for a three-peat Super Bowl appearance, but the Giants would not go away. After beating the Chicago Bears in the first round of the playoffs, Taylor and his teammates relish the opportunity for a San Francisco rematch.
Say the Giants were dead.
Hey, they said we're done, baby.
Hey, I don't understand them.
They stuck a fork in us and said we were done.
Hey, San Francisco, they're back. We're back.
They're back.
Let's go. Here we come. Going back to California, guys.
I love talking about this game here because both games that year, the playoff game, which you're talking about now, and the game prior to that, the time we met prior to that, when it was 7-3, the two greatest football games I've ever played in since I've been in the National Football League. Why? Simply because everything else was completely blocked out. It was just our 11 people on the field and their 11 people on the field. And I tell you, it was just like a hard fought throughout the game. I had no sense of time. I had no idea how much time was left on the clock. I had no idea what quarter we was in. I had no idea what the score of the game was. It was just like one of those, like a battle that just took forever to end. You know, it just went on and on and on. I just got lost in the game. I tell you, it was very exciting.
That's where to jamble in it too, okay? Keep hammering them. Keep hammering those outside receivers.
Taylor would have a crucial role in two key plays that decided the outcome of the game.
Strong side right with the tight end. Montana looking. Plenty of time. Rolls away now. Runs away. Eludes a tackle. Is hit. Fumbles the ball. Free ball.
Leonard Marshall caught him with his helmet right in the middle of the back. Upper part of the back. You know, a good legit hit.
Marshall's bullseye was made possible by Taylor's relentless charge, pursuit which forced Montana into the onrushing path of the sack and a game-ending injury. Two New York field goals narrowed San Francisco's fourth quarter lead to a single point. But unless the Giants forced one more turnover, the Niners would be on their way to a Super Bowl three-peat.
Young Kearns, hands off, Craig into the line. Giants hold him, fumble. The Giants have the ball.
Lawrence Taylor came up with the ball.
I do remember that play, but I remember it only in the context of that the great players make the great plays at the crucial times. That was not a surprise to me because he'd exhibited that characteristic over the course of his career. It's when the most is on the line, that's when the greatness shows.
Right, baby. We're a minute away from Tampa Bay, baby. A minute away. A minute away, baby.
Ball will be spotted at the 32. Snap, spot. Kick is away. It's got the distance. It is good. Good.
And the Giants are going to Tampa Bay. It's over for the three-peats. It's over.
Two clutch plays from Lawrence Taylor allowed the New York Giants to win the NFC crown and earn a berth in the Super Bowl for the second time in 4 years. On a day dominated by much larger issues, the New York Giants and the Buffalo Bills met in Super Bowl 25. A strategy that de-emphasized pass rushing limited Lawrence Taylor's effectiveness. But the intangibles he first brought to the Giants in 1981 were evident throughout the game. In this, the closest and most dramatic Super Bowl of all, it was the team that out-hit and out-hustled its opponent that ultimately prevailed.
Snap, spot, in the air. It's got the distance. It is. No good.
Once again, Lawrence Taylor's Giants were champions. But for Lawrence Taylor, the person, the victory was symbolic of success that had nothing to do with Super Bowl rings.
He's fallen into some problems. He's recognized that he's wrong. He knows the difference between right and wrong, and he knows he does some things that he shouldn't. And he's trying to he's tried to get his act together as he has. and deserves a lot of credit, but I think that he's a very decent person. But I think if you're playing left tackle and you're trying to block him, I don't know how decent he is.
The best thing I've accomplished, because I've done some bad things in my life. I'm not a choir boy. Of course, we all know this. And I was able to overcome those things, not through just because I'm through my personality, no, because through my play as a ball player, which allowed me to show the real LT or show his personality. Now, I've done a lot of good things in the world of football, but I've done a lot of bad things also, a couple. And without Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, George, the Giant organization, my friends on the team, my friends outside of football, my family, of course, I think I would not have made it in this world, pretty much, because without those guys, without the people I just mentioned, I would have just fell by the wayside. But those guys keep staying behind me, pushing me, saying everything's going to be all right. Hey, allowed me to stay in there and fight, and I'm very appreciative for that.
He has been the premier defensive player of his generation, a pioneer who has become the paragon of the modern-day linebacker. But his greatest contribution has been to his team. Before Lawrence Taylor came to the Giants, they had been losers for nearly 2 decades. Since Lawrence Taylor's arrival, they have been winners and champions.